Are you digging up the dirt on your dead? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers, nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Great family history stories and information are on the way now with Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
It's been this way for generations.
Extreme Genes, Extreme Genes. Dates in the Bible don't quite match the marriage certificate. Extreme Genes, Extreme Genes. Uh-oh.
Hey, welcome back, Genies. It is Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, extremegenes.com. I am your radio root sleuth Fisher, and do we have a Roots Tech kind of show for you today? If you don't know what Roots Tech is, it is the largest family history convention in North America, and if you count everybody watching online, in the world. It just happened a couple of weeks ago in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was a party. Lots of classes, displays, new stuff to help us connect past, present, and future. Go to rootstech.org to catch the key videos of great keynote speakers and demonstrations. And while at the Extreme Genes headquarters at Roots Tech, a lady named Amy came by to say hello. We had a great chat, and then she said, "Oh, and by the way, I just found my sister a few months ago." What? So she gave me the skinny on how she connected with a sister who was adopted out before her parents got together. Later in the show, you will meet Amy and her sister Carol, who are having way too much fun catching up on all the years they missed knowing each other. It's one of those find your birth family with a happy ending stories, and you'll hear it firsthand in about 9 minutes. Later in the show, as part of African American History Month, I'll play for you my visit with a man from Ghana whose job it is to track down the family records of Africa that eventually become available to you on FamilySearch.org. His name is Osei Bonsu, and if you think it's tough tracking down your ancestors here, wait till you hear how the records are and have been kept in most all of Africa for centuries. What a difficult task he has to deal with. You won't want to miss it. It's also Valentine's Day weekend, and I hope you're having a great one. One Extreme Genes listener was lucky enough to be the recipient of some old letters of her ancestors, including a love letter from the early 1880s. Wait till you hear how they were written back then. You'll have that chance in about 3 minutes. Here is this week's Family Histoire news from the pages of extremegenes.com. FamilySearch.org has made two major announcements. The first is that they will be spearheading an effort for volunteers to make a major focus on indexing obituaries. The goal for the coming year, 100 million obituaries that you'll soon see appearing on their website. It's an insane number, but that has never stopped Family Search before. Of course, obituaries are a gold mine of family history information with stories, biographical info, and typically many names of family members to go along with dates and places. This is where all those digitized newspapers come into play. Their new mascot, chosen to promote the campaign, is Captain Jack Starling, a play on Johnny Depp's famous Pirate of the Caribbean. He was all over Roots Tech, and his message is this: dead men tell no tales, but their obituaries do. The second big announcement concerns the growing partnership with Ancestry.com, FindMyPast.com, MyHeritage.com, and FamilySearch.org. That will accelerate the digitizing of the billions of family records collected and held by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. At the present time, it would take some 300 years or roughly 11 generations to get it all digitized. But these organizations from all over the world have a plan that will reduce that to 20 to 30 years, a single generation. Your 8th great-grandchildren will be relieved to hear that. We're also excited to announce the creation of our Extreme Genes YouTube channel. You'll be able to find our podcast there, as well as videos with several of the keynote speakers from Roots Tech. We've just started, so look for that to happen a little at a time. And if you have a story you'd like to share or a question or comment, we'd love to hear from you on our toll-free Find line. The number is 1-234-56-GENES. That's 1-234-56-GENES. It's open 24/7, and if you record what's on your mind, we'll be happy to get back with you and maybe even bring you on the show to share your story. And by the way, if you have a kid who's getting into digging up their dead, we'd especially like to hear from them. The number again is 1-234-56-GENES, GENES, toll free. And on the line with us from Elk Grove, California is Sherry Westmoreland. How you doing, Sherry?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, glad to have you on the show, and very interested in this because as it's Valentine's Day weekend, we look for a little romance from the ancestral past, and you actually have some love letters that were shared by your ancestors. Tell us about how you came about obtaining them and who they are from and where they fit into your lines.
Sure. So my father actually received these letters from a distant cousin. He had copies of them and had transcribed them for us and gave us photocopies. And I was going through all of our family history documents, and I found them. And as I was reading them, I was really interested in their love story.
And there are not many people who wind up with love letters from as far back. What time period are we talking about here?
So they were born in the 1860s, and they were writing to each other in the 1880s, and they had met each other in New York, and they're my second great-grandparents, and they were falling in love, and we have about 18 pages of letters that they wrote to each other and to other relatives, and it was a great window into who they were and their personalities.
They were quite formal, weren't they, some of these letters?
They were very formal, and you would expect that from the time period, but it's really fun to hear how they say things and what they write to each other.
You want to share some of that with us?
Sure. So John wrote to Emma about something that she had told him previously. He says, "You advised me to wait several years before I get married, but at the same time paint a very pretty picture of married life. Now that's quite aggravating, very much like holding out an orange to a child and tell how nice it is, but at the same time forbid them to touch it. Well, I shall wait some little time yet before I do get married, but when I do, I shall marry for love and expect to marry a good, true woman. What more could a man wish than the true love of a noble girl? And should he not by all possible means prove himself worthy of same?"
Isn't that beautiful? Why can't we write like that today, you know?
I know. I wish I could.
You know, I mean, how many people get married now by just saying, "Hey, you want to get married or what?" Right?
I know, exactly.
Hey, Sherry, thanks so much for sharing your ancestor story. Appreciate you coming on Extreme Genes.
Well, thank you for having me.
And coming up next, you'll meet two sisters who, until September of last year, had never even heard of each other. But now what was lost has been found, and they are the closest of family members. They'll tell you the concerns they had to overcome, how they finally connected, and what the experience was like. Next on Extreme Genes Family History Radio and ExtremeGenes.com. Your priceless 8mm home movies and your precious family videos are deteriorating right now. Heat, moisture, insects, dust, mold, time, they're all robbing you of your family's memories. It's time to preserve those treasures right now by digitizing them at tmcplace.com. They've been preserving memories for over 40 years. Home movies, videos, audio tapes, vinyl records, photos, slides, and even scrapbooks. Whether your treasures are enduring the humidity of Massachusetts or the heat of Arizona, tmcplace.com can digitize your audio and images without harming the originals and returning them to you with free shipping both ways on most orders. tmcplace.com can even let you track your package in real time with a special GPS tracking device. Trustworthy, experienced, affordable. Call tmcplace.com toll-free at 1-866-483-1717 to talk to Extreme Genes Preservation Authority Tom Perry about your project. Or order online at shop.tmcplace.com.
You know, when it comes to family history, there's nothing quite like the thrill of the hunt and the excitement generated by every new discovery. Who were your immigrant ancestors? What ship did they come over on? Why did they come when they did? Did they participate in any military campaigns that took place in their day? What personal challenges did your forefathers and mothers endure? Heritage Consulting, Genealogy Research Services can get you the answers to many of these questions and more. They've been providing providing professional research and consultation services since 1978. Call toll-free 1-877-537-2000 to speak directly to a professional family history researcher. Heritage Consulting can research, collect, analyze, and interpret the countless documents your ancestors generated throughout their lives and present the findings to you in an attractive book or in an electronic format. The cost, far less than you'd expect for far more than you can imagine. 877-537-2000 or go to heritageconsulting.com.
Hey, welcome back to Extreme Genes Family History Radio. It is Fisher here, and I'm very excited. We're still in the afterglow of all things Roots Tech, and a couple of people that I met as a result of that are here with me in the studio right now. Amy Woodrick from Atlanta, Georgia. How are you, Amy?
Doing great, Fisher. Thanks for having us.
Carol Moss here from Salt Lake City, Utah. And you guys had an interesting experience as a result of your dive into family history research in the recent past. Carol, let's start with you and give us the background of why you got started, and we'll go into what happened here.
Okay. Well, I've been doing family history research for about 37 years. Just love it. Just learned that that's what you do when you live in Salt Lake City, and got into it and really love it. I'm an adopted child, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, grew up there, had a wonderful family, and was raised very well. But I've never known anything about my birth family at all. And as an adopted child, you really have a hankering to know. There's just always a little hole that needs to be filled. And so I'm a grandmother of 15 children. I mean, I'm not young. I'm not young. Not as young as I used to be. But finally, I spent about 8 to 10 years working the Pennsylvania system trying to get a little bit of information from them. Well, I wanted specifics. So about 2 years ago, they finally were able to send me my birth certificate, the death certificates of both my birth mother and birth father. And when I immediately went to ancestry.com and did the research to see if I could find out anything, and there was a picture of both of them. And I was just immediately drawn to my mother, and I read her obituary and found out I had 4 siblings.
Wow.
And I thought, I'd love us to know each other. But how do I call up and say,
yeah, this is
hi?
the awkward thing.
Yeah.
And I've worked with people who have been in this situation before, who've asked for my help because I've done a lot of this too. And the one thing I always say is just remember, once you open that door, you can never close it again.
That's so true.
And you really have to make that decision. Can you handle the potential things, maybe a rejection, or maybe somebody that you find out you really don't want to know?
Exactly.
And so
or
you really have
are they going to lean on you too much?
Sure.
Or are they going to need you more than you want to be needed?
Yes.
All kinds of scenarios.
So where did it go from here?
So I thought, I want them, it would be best if they found me. So what I did was I was very familiar with using the Ancestry.com products, and they have trees, and you put several trees out if you want. So I put out a tree. This was my strategy. I put myself and just my mother and her parents and her grandparents. I created a tree with just that line.
So just 4 generations.
Yes. But it was me connected to my mother, my birth mother. And of course, online, I saw other trees with her picture, and I put those pictures on my tree and kept borrowing. Whenever I saw it, I'd put it on my tree.
So this is like waving your hands, going,
yes,
hey,
right. I'm
look
here.
over here.
Exactly. That's exactly. And I thought, I want them to discover me. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. About 2 years later, and Amy, she'll tell you her story, but she saw that I was taking her stuff and putting it on my tree. And that was how we connected.
All right. Now, Amy, let's go to your end of this thing now.
Okay.
You discover this tree that Carol has posted, and there's your mother's picture on her side. Obviously, there was a moment you looked at this and went,
Yes.
Talk about this. Your mom's passed, I assume.
Yes, Mom passed in 2000. My dad passed in 2002.
Okay.
Going back a little bit, about 5 years ago, I had a relative on my side say that we were never supposed to tell us kids, but your mom had a baby girl and gave up for adoption before she met my dad. And we kind of took it with a grain of salt because I didn't have any information to go by, and I just had to have faith that we'd find each other. Well, I've been in genealogy, like my sister, for about 14 years, not as long as Carol.
You're not as old as I am.
And what we did was, my husband was like, you've done all this work for the family. I keep in touch with my dad's side. You go publish your tree. So September 1st, I published the tree, and I was on it on September 12th, and I was looking around, noticing somebody was borrowing my pictures. And so I went to her tree because I have my maiden name, Starn, is so well documented for the last 300 years, but my Irvine, my mom's side, wasn't. And so I looked, and I'm looking, and I saw this tree called Carol's family tree, and I looked at it, and I was dumbfounded. I saw Carol, and I saw her mom, and her mom was my mom. And it literally took about 20 minutes to comprehend it.
And she's a smart girl.
Yeah.
It was fun that we didn't find each other through DNA, but we do match 99.9.
Yeah.
But it was fun to find the way we found each other. So I looked at it, and it took me a while because I was like, well, I'm the genealogist of the family. I thought somebody hired Carol, because, of course, I looked into Carol right away and found out she was a genealogist and everything. And then I was like, wait a minute. Oh, she's our half-sister.
It took a while for it to click, but
Yeah.
you already had that information in your head that
Yes.
there was somebody else out there, and all of a sudden, there she is.
Yes, it was just amazing.
All right, so who picked up the phone here?
Well, I ended up telling my sisters and brothers, and my brother, he just was so wow. He was like, really? Amy, really? I'm like, yes, Mark. And he just was ecstatic. And Susan and Gretchen we all embraced Carol right away. It was just very natural.
Let's talk about the moment of contact here, though. I mean, you shared the word with your siblings.
Right.
And now what was the discussion about how do you proceed?
Well, we all kind of got together. My niece is an interpreter, and we're trying to figure out how do we word it to do it. And we took about 24 hours, and I emailed Carol saying that my mom gave up a daughter before she met my dad. Would you happen to be her? My husband said, just keep it simple. And then through ancestor.com, there's an emailing system.
Yes.
So I emailed Carol, and then Carol got the email.
And said, Yahoo!
And
it worked. So I wrote back right away and said, yes, I am that daughter. And it was really.
Did it please you that they knew that they had a half-sister, that it helped a little bit?
Yes, it did. Because it helped me know that they wanted to find me probably as much as I wanted to find them. And that
But how would they reach out? I mean, that's
right.
You at least had something to work with. They didn't have anything to work with.
The funny thing is, we then got onto personal emails and started emailing. And Amy would write me these nice long emails, and I would write her nice long emails. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this family has the gift of gab. That's where I get it from. I could not believe it. My kids have it. My grandchildren have it. But it's definitely from our mother.
So this is now going back to September. Mm-hmm. So it's been, 4 or 5 months now. Oh, 4 months today.
Today. It's
yes,
the
that's
12th.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, October, November, December, January. No, 5 months.
Oh, we're up to 5 months already.
5 months,
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
And so you got on the phone how soon after the email exchanges?
Oh, probably a couple weeks later.
Weeks you called.
That was an hour's conversation right there.
Of course. And listening to each other's voice, and you had exchanged photographs and all this.
Yeah.
Now, Carol, you didn't know a whole lot about Mom.
No.
And this obviously filled in some big holes. What did you learn from Amy and her siblings that was of benefit to you?
Well, one of the first things you do worry about you're concerned about is health issues. And I think I get my strength and vigor from my birth mother because she sounded like a strong woman. Although she passed away from cancer, it was probably one that I probably won't have. But nevertheless, I felt that was strong. And I learned that they are people. Yes. Which is what I am. And I was like, it felt so comfortable. It still does. It's like putting on a glove. And I've never felt that comfortable with my cousins or my own family. I mean, I love them dearly, but it's not the same kind of comfort level. Something very special was there. And that's a great great gift.
I bet it is. But what about for you, Amy? What have you found out about your mom now? Did this impact you in any way, or any of your siblings in a way that hurt them, that this had happened prior to their lives?
Yeah, everyone really took it pretty well. It was because we didn't know anything and we didn't 5 years ago when we heard that we could have had a half sister, didn't have any information to go, so we had to just kind of let it go and have faith. Fine. But everybody's been pretty well. Everybody's Facebooking everybody. And it's just been really, really wonderful. And just being with Carol and my brother-in-law, Brian, for the week has just been wonderful. We've just really enjoyed it. And it's just neat. I mean, you look so much like Mom. I mean, it's just like
I love it when
I'll
she
have
says
to go back.
that.
I mean, I just
Have you gotten to see videos of your mom, by the way?
I haven't seen any videos.
Or heard her voice yet?
Yeah. No, and I haven't. But I wanted to say that I was a little nervous about contacting them. And part of it was I didn't want to change what I was. I mean, here I am.
Sure.
A grandmother, and I have a life history. But it didn't change anything. What it did was expand my self-identity, and that's been really great. And the other thing, finding out at this stage in my life, it has really, I have nothing but sympathy and compassion for my mother. I can't imagine how hard it was, what she went through, to have a child that she had alone, and then to place it as an adoption. What was a great comfort to me was to learn that she met her husband 2 months after I was born. They got married the year after I was born, and she was married for 50 years and had 4 children. I mean, that sounds ideal. Family.
Great story.
Mm-hmm. Great family life. Yes, and I thought that was a comfort to me to know that she was able to move on and have a wonderful life despite this really probably traumatic experience for her.
It has been so great visiting with you both. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A very happy ending here, clearly.
wonderful.
Yes.
And I hope it continues on for many, many years.
Oh, I'm sure
a lot of
it
memories
will.
to come.
Thanks for visiting with us.
Thank you, Fisher.
And on the way next, his job is to collect the family records of all of Africa. A daunting task? Count on it. But Osei Bonsu of Guana is up to it. Hear my Roots Tech visit with him next on Extreme Genes Family History Radio and ExtremeGenes.com.
Got a brick wall in your family tree? Don't know how to break through it? Get professional help from Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services. Speak directly with an experienced genealogical researcher, not a salesperson, by calling toll-free 1-877-537-2000. When you call, ask how you could win a free 1-hour consultation with an expert genealogist. Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services, with over 35 years of research experience. Visit heritageconsulting.com. What's in your family's old trunk? Antique photos, cassette recordings, wire recordings, old records, home movies, videos from the 80s and 90s? To hear them and see them again, often restored to unbelievably realistic colors, you need to take them all to the Multimedia Center.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight, they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Welcome back, Genies. It's Extreme Genes Family History Radio and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here. And at Roots Tech, I had the chance to talk to one man who has a job that, on the one hand, you'd never wish on anybody because it is so difficult. On the other hand, you can only be jealous of the experiences he's had traveling throughout the continent of Africa, gathering information that could be lost at any time. His name is Osei Bonsu of Guana, and his job is to gather these records wherever they may be found in Africa for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. These records ultimately wind up available free to the public on FamilySearch.org. You'll have to listen carefully due to the background noise at the conference, and his accent may mean you'll have to pay special attention. Here's my visit with the amazing Osei Bonsu.
Well, everybody knows that in Africa, written records are not available. And indeed, it is true. We started having records that is civil registration census records in 1949. That is what the time Sub-Saharan Africa started having written records.
1949. Wow.
And even that, it was only for the urban centers. The rural areas, nothing has been done. And even though we don't have written records, we have a lot of knowledgeable people that have their family history in their heads.
In their heads.
Especially, yes. There are some people that can give you from their head up to 9-10 generations.
So we're talking 300 years in their heads.
Yes.
Or even more.
Yes. Because some can date back as far back as the 1600s, the 1500s, and in fact, for people telling you up to 1800s is very easy. You know, the 18th century.
How do they get this in their head? and
well,
how are they chosen to be the ones who do this?
I must be frank that most of them do that with the help of aids. Some people do that by reading notches, a stick with notches. And each notch represents a generation. And so by looking at the notch, they will be able to tell you, this is the person that was heading this family, this was the person. So that helps them. Some people do that by skins. You know, some people do that by stool. If there is some kinship or inheritance, they do that. Some areas, they do it by graves. Some people bury their people in their compounds. So it has been there for long, and they can tell you that this grave belongs to our great-great-great-grandfather whose name was that and that and that. You know. So those reading device, if I should call it, help them to do that. Others, like 6 generations and others, are easy for them to talk from their mind. But those that go beyond 6 generations, 7 generations, normally have some sort of reading device.
Is this a job that's passed father to son?
Yes.
Or is it a group of people that have the same job?
It is the family normally have one person or one particular lineage that learns that. Mm-hmm. And so they pass it on from one generation to the other. Unfortunately, now that thing is no more there. It's dying and dying very fast because the young ones are all migrating to the cities. So because of rural poverty, everybody wants to come to the city for greener pastures. They want to come to find out better life. And so the old men are left alone. Those who know are left alone. And so they don't have that opportunity to pass it on. And that is why we get worried. People like me, that is why we get worried. And these people are dying and dying very fast. And if we are not quick enough to capture,
it's gone.
It is gone. I give you one simple example that happened just last year. We interviewed one man, a 93-year-old man. He gave us very good stories that the family themselves didn't have a clue about. He talked to us he gave about 9 generations of his family. We finished the interview on Thursday. Saturday, the field officer went to say bye to him, and the man was dead. So if you have waited for 3 more days,
yes, you'd
all
lost
that information is gone.
Isn't that
and there
something?
are a lot of people that are dying and going.
You know, I was told many years ago by my mother that when somebody dies, a library is burned.
Exactly. When an old man dies, a library burns down. It is a saying in Africa. And there is a saying in Africa that says that when an old man's muscles atrophy, in other words, decreases or shrinks, that of the young man increases or develops. That was the olden days. And if you want to translate it, what that means is that as the old man's memory, fades,
right?
That of the young man gets richer. And they say that with the intention that the old man is passing all the knowledge onto the young man.
Yes.
So as his is fading, that of the young man is getting richer.
Is growing.
But now it's no more like that. Like I'm saying, the young man...
Right, they want to leave to the city.
To the city.
Now, you're talking about Ghana, but you must be talking about other countries.
I'm talking about
all of Africa. All of Africa.
Yes.
Are you having some areas where you can't get any records at all?
As at now?
Yeah.
Apart from the recent ones I'm talking about, there are no records. 1949, the registration of civil registration took place in almost all the countries. Census, the first census, I think, started around 1960. Every country in sub-Saharan Africa started organizing census. So these modern ones, unfortunately, most of them are lost, either bent, intentionally bent, or destroyed. Now, if you are looking for them, those ones we are getting are around 1980, 1990. That's what we are getting. And those ones are too new or too recent to even be used for any family history work, because most of the people are alive.
Right, or they know who those were, so it's just duplicating.
Exactly.
You're not getting any further. Well, this is absolutely fascinating. How long have you been doing it?
We started in 2005.
Okay.
So that's about 13 years. No.
9 years.
9 years, about 9 years.
And how many names have you extracted then or indexed in Africa?
So far, we have done 4.5 million, and we've done about 10,000 interviews and collected about 4.5 million names.
From the interviews alone?
Yes.
From these people?
Yes. That's what.
And how many of those people how many of those people have died since you started this?
I can't tell, but maybe half of them.
Wow. Isn't that something? It's been a
wow. See the video of my visit with Osei Bonsu on our Extreme Genes YouTube channel. And coming up next, Preservation Authority Tom Perry on the latest family history use of QR codes and just how those memory medallions you see at the cemeteries actually work. On Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and ExtremeGenes.com. Remember how fun it was to capture those special moments of your children's childhood on video and watch it back, knowing that you'd be able to have that memory forever? Or watching a home movie of your own childhood and seeing many of your loved ones who are now gone. If you haven't yet digitized those family treasures, you're at risk of losing all of them with each passing day. Time and elements slowly destroy videos and film, as well as rare old photos and audio recordings. Rescuing your memories is what TMCplace.com has been doing for over 40 years. They can transfer all these discs and hard drives so you and your family can enjoy them digitally for generations to come, and without damaging the originals. They provide free shipping both ways on most orders. They even offer GPS real-time tracking of your package so you can be confident that nothing can ever be lost in transit. Call toll-free 1-866-483-1717 to talk to Extreme Genes Preservation Authority Tom Perry about your special project, or order online at shop.tmcplace.com.
How's your family history research going? Are you stuck on a difficult line? Don't know how to start? Let the professionals at Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services help. Heritage Consulting has been providing professional research and consultation services since 1978. They can help you find your own personal family history for far less than you would expect by researching, collecting, analyzing, and interpreting the numerous historical documents your ancestors left in their lifetimes. They'll then provide you with a professionally written report in book or electronic form that you and your family can enjoy for literally generations. Knowledge of your ancestors forges stronger ties within your family and helps children better appreciate who they are within the context of your family history. Call Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services right now. The call is free. Dial 1-877-537-2000. That's 1-877-537-2000. You'll speak directly to an expert genealogist. Find out more at heritageconsulting.com.
Hey, welcome back to Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, and what a show it has been already. Some amazing guests, and yet we add another one, our preservation authority, Tom Perry from tmcplace.com. Welcome back, Tom.
It's good to be back.
And we spent a lot of time together at Roots Tech in Salt Lake City, Utah for the big convention and learned so much. And how about you?
Oh, it was incredible. There were people from all over the globe. It was absolutely amazing, especially in the U.S. We had people from back east and northeast, northwest, every place. It was neat to talk to some old friends, too.
Well, what do you have for us today about preservation? We're going to pick up where we left off last week.
Right. Last week, right after Roots Tech, we were talking about Blu-ray players. People asked in a letter saying, when should I buy a Blu-ray player? Do I need to really buy one now? And we told you, yes, go ahead and buy one. In fact, we're doing a special at shop.tmcplace.com where you can get a free Blu-ray player. At Roots Tech, we were taking orders there. If you had 1,000 feet of film being transferred, we gave you a free Blu-ray player. And so we've extended this to those people that weren't able to be at Roots Tech. When you go to the coupon code, just type in Valentine's, and we'll send you a free Blu-ray player with your transfer. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that is exciting stuff.
Another thing that was really great, like we talked a little bit last week with Rick and Chris about Easy Photo Scan, renting their machinery, and you can also purchase stuff from them, too. If you want to buy a real good high-end photo scanner, they've got the one to buy. It's by Kodak. It's what we use in our store. It's an awesome machine.
Well, let's talk a little about that for those who may have missed it. This means you can go to a reunion or a gathering, and you can all chip into either lease or rent or whatever you want to call it, one of these machines, and do hundreds of photographs from people from wherever they come in from. It's a great idea.
Oh, it is. In fact, if you're there for like a 3-day weekend, we're talking about thousands of photos. This machine is so fast. It does such a great job of separating the prints. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's great what it can do.
And the beauty of it is it doesn't harm the prints.
Exactly.
So that you feed them through, it gives you a lovely digital copy for everybody to share, and then it goes back to the original owners.
Exactly. And the neat thing about this also is if you have pictures that have notes written on the back of them, you can actually set the scanner to scan both sides at the same time.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's cool. Or like a journal. If you have a journal that the pages are individual and they're written on both sides, set the scanner to scan both sides, send it through, and it'll scan both sides.
Where are we going with this? I mean, it just keeps getting more and more imaginative as to what we could do with it. It makes it faster. It's great.
Oh, it is. In fact, I'm really looking at getting one of those 3D printers so I can start making my own scanners.
Yeah, exactly. Or make your own 3D printer from a 3D printer.
Exactly. But I wonder if it'll deteriorate like JPEGs over time. Another thing that's really neat that Easy Photo Scan is doing, they are coming out with QR codes, which are the hottest things right now, where you can purchase QR codes, put them on the back of your photo, and you can narrate what the photo is. You can put video tied to it. You can have somebody wishing somebody a happy birthday when they scan it with their smartphone. It's incredible.
Well, for people to understand, the QR code is basically a link back to what? A website?
It could be a website. In fact, the majority of them, that's what they are. They actually go to a website. Like, we'll get into memory medallions in a minute, but it's the same thing. It goes to a website, so it goes to a server, and then on that server is where you put music, audio, video, film, anything that you want. And you don't have to maintain the server. You don't have to be computer literate. It's very, very simple to do.
So it's a tie-in just with the company that does the QR code.
Correct. Now, a QR code is actually not owned by anybody. It's public domain, just like the radio waves.
But the link and the site is all maintained by an individual company.
Correct. Whoever you purchase that from, like in this part, it'd be Easy Photo Scan. We do QR codes for a lot of our customers who want them from various things, and so then we host them. There's also, we'll get into memory medallions and a few others, and we'll talk about how they're hosted.
Wow. There's just so much to know, and that's why you're here to help us out. And by the way, if you have questions for Tom, he's happy to answer them at asktom@tmcplace.com. That's asktom@tmcplace.com. And if we use your question on the air and give you the answer,
you'll get a free $50 credit on any online purchase.
Awesome. All right. And coming up next, Tom will talk memory medallions, what they mean to you in terms of marking your ancestors' grave sites. It's good stuff. Coming up next on Extreme Genes Family History Radio and extremegenes.com.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight, they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
You found us. Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, extremegenes.com. Fisher here with Tom Perry, our preservation authority from tmcplace.com, talking about memory medallions. Now, this kind of ties in with the whole thing with the QR code because they're similar in a lot of ways. Yes, Tom?
Exactly. In fact, it totally is based on a QR code.
All right. So if you go to a cemetery and you find an ancestor's grave, let's just take it from the point of view of somebody who stumbles upon one that somebody has left.
Exactly.
I go there and I find my great-great-grandfather's grave, and there's the memory medallion on it. What do I do with that?
Okay, first off, if you don't already have one installed on your phone, any kind of smartphone, whether it's an Android or a iPod, you download a free app. They're available on the iTunes store. They're available wherever Android gets their things. And once you download it, basically what it is, it's a photo. You're taking a photo. So you find one of these, and I have done that. I've gone to my cemetery to visit my father's grave and was, walking through and saw one on a grave. And I thought, oh, and it says World War II veteran. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I'd take out my phone, open up the QR app. I would set it over just like you're taking a photo of it.
It's a QR app, or is it a memory medallion app?
No, it's a QR app.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can read any kind of QR codes. Like, for instance, our brochures we hand out at things like Roots Tech, they have QR codes where they can go to our main website. They can go to our film website, different things.
So the memory medallion, though, contains a QR. So
exactly.
It's just that it's protected because it's out in the elements. It's made in a different way.
Right. It's actually laser. It's laser etched right into the material that it's in. So, it'll last forever and ever and ever.
Sure.
Now, the neat thing about memory medallion, they're not just some company. They actually have a site that's set up into perpetuity, just like when you buy a cemetery plot. If the company that owns that, if it's not city-owned, goes out of business, they have money set aside so it will be kept forever, so you never have to worry about that. That's how the memory medallion is also set up. So once you purchase one of these, you have it forever, and they start out at about $50 and go up.
Okay.
And so now what you do is you scan this. Once you scan it on your phone, it will hook into the internet. It will go and find where this is placed on their server, and it'll bring up audio, video, film, links to other websites, whatever you choose to be on yours.
While you are standing there in front of that grave.
Exactly.
That's exciting.
Oh, it is. It's amazing. And the things, you learn about these people. In fact, Memory Medallion was hired by the 9/11 people, the new monuments that they built down there. There's one to the fire department and one to the police department. And by the name of everybody that perished there is a Memory Medallion. So you can go up and scan it, and you'll find out what the story is. Or say, this was a 22-year-old right out of the police academy, left a wife and 3 kids behind. Here's some information. There might be some photos. There might be video and all this kind of stuff. So it adds some action to who these people are. They're not just a name on a piece of rock anymore. These are individuals, and it's absolutely incredible technology.
So we only have about a minute left to go, Tom. Where can people get these? I would imagine they're available in outlets throughout the country.
Oh, yeah, all over. And if you can't find it, you can either go to our website, which is tmcplace.com, and there's actually a drop-down that says Memory Medallion. You can click on that, and that will tell you a place where you can buy it online, or you can go and search on Google and find other people that are selling them.
So what price range do these go in? And is there a varying price?
Oh, yeah. They start out at $50 and go up. Like some of them are just a little flat one that you just mount on the headstone. Some of them have is almost like a locket where you can print the picture of the deceased person right on the cover. It can be etched right into it. We just did some for a person that lives in Texas, and they had the state of Texas flag put on the top of it. So they can be totally customized.
I love that.
Right. One of the neatest things to remember is if you're someplace that there's no Wi-Fi or there's no internet, you can take a photo of that with your QR app. Then when you get back home, you can actually hit the button again, and it will go to the site.
All right, Tom. Always great stuff. Thanks for coming on the show. And thanks to our guests coming off of Roots Tech, especially the newfound sisters, Carol and Amy. What a delight to have them on the show. We'll have more from Roots Tech coming up next week. And don't forget, we've got a brand new YouTube channel in action, so you can check out our podcast. Take care. We'll talk to you again next week. And don't forget, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.